Good evening, my dear friends. Today I am going to discuss about very important topic, which is seems to be domestic violence, but it is domestic violence which is linked to live-in relationship and marriage. So today's topic is about marriage, which is there in your general studies one, which is there in your anthropology optional, which is also there in sociology optional. So about marriage. So contemporary of marriage. In the subject of anthropology, the subject of general studies, we will be understanding about the marriage, the functions of marriage, the laws of marriage, the different types of marriage, the regulations of marriage. But in today's class, I am going to discuss about the contemporary relationship of marriage. So what is the contemporary relationship of marriage, which is live-in relationship? So how live-in relationship is similar with marriage? How live-in relationship is different with marriage? What are the legal safeguards provided for the live-in relationships? What are the legal safeguards provided for the marriage relationship? So how the live-in relationship, mainly gender specific, women specific, how women can be exploited in the live-in relationship, because of which there will be domestic violence. There is a chance of domestic violence. So domestic violence in live-in relationship I am going to discuss. Difference between the marriage, similarity between the marriage and the legal safeguards provided for the women who are into the live-in relationship. Why? Because nowadays in urban areas, at workplaces, because of the trend of globalization, modern mechanics, modern things, the live-in relationship numbers are increasing. Whether because of the live-in relationship, whether woman is becoming vulnerable and exploited. So how to protect the woman? We are going to do this particular topic. So live-in relationship versus marriage. Live-in relationship versus marriage. What is live-in relationship and what is marriage? We are going to discuss now. So first I want to discuss about the marriage definition. So marriage definition is given by an anthropologist called as Westermarck. What he told? Westermarck, an anthropologist, defined marriage is a religiously, that means by the religion, accepted union of men and women living together with mutually agreed sexual rights. So both male and female staying together, which is legally, religiously accepted relationship between a man and woman, is called as marriage. Whether live-in relationship, here comes the question of live-in relationship, whether live-in relationship is religiously accepted, whether live-in relationship is having any rights, having any legal rights, that we are going to discuss now. There is a growing number of live-in relationships, live-in partners, but the legality and the societal approval is not yet institutionalized. There is no universal definition for live-in relationship. There are definitions for marriage. Westermarck gave the definition of marriage. Murdoch gave the definition of marriage. Notes and Queries gave the definition of marriage. Malinowski, a famous anthropologist, gave the definition of marriage. Similarly, whether any person, any scholar gave the definition of live-in relationship, that we are going to discuss now. The Supreme Court in Indra Sharma versus VKV Sharma, one famous judgment with respect to live-in relationship, that particular judgment is Indra Sharma versus VKV Sharma judgment, defined live-in relationships in three distinct ways. In three distinct ways, they told the live-in relationships are: number one is unmarried couple. So two unmarried couple, a domestic cohabitation between an adult unmarried male and adult unmarried female. So if both unmarried male and female coming together and staying under a single roof, then it is called as live-in relationship, according to Supreme Court judgment Indra Sharma versus VKV Sharma. Next, a domestic cohabitation between a married man and an adult unmarried woman, that is also called as live-in relationship. A domestic cohabitation between an adult unmarried man and a married woman, that is also called as live-in relationship. So according to the Supreme Court, three types are considered as live-in relationship. One is unmarried male and woman, unmarried husband and married woman, unmarried wife, unmarried lady and married husband. So if these three conditions are satisfied, then it is called as live-in relationship. But the problem is, this can be clearly mentioned as live-in relationship, but there is a problem with second and third. Why? Because one among them is married. The last two are the most complex grey areas of acknowledging live-in relationships. The last two, that means one person is unmarried, other person is married. One person is married, other person is unmarried. In this particular complex situation, there is an issue of whether need to be considered as live-in relationship or an illegal relationship. That we are going to discuss now. So Indra Sharma versus VKV Sharma 2013 Supreme Court gave the judgment, a landmark judgment. Miss Indra Sharma, an unmarried woman. The story goes like this. Indra Sharma is one of the unmarried women who married VKV Sharma, and they stayed for 18 years under a single cohabitation. Then later she came to conclusion that he is already married. Then the Indra Sharma, earlier she was doing the job, she left the job. Now after 18 years, when she was being left from the cohabitation from the husband, now she doesn't have any maintenance, she doesn't have any life to further continue. Why? Because she is not legally married wife. So in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court told that if male and female both staying together, same as in the marriage system, then that particular relationship will also be considered as marriage. Hence, that particular lady will be all the maintenance benefits which is getting to the originally married wife. So Miss Indra Sharma, an unmarried woman, left her job and began a live-in relationship with Mr. VKV Sharma for a period as long as 18 years. Despite knowing that he was married, Mr. Sharma abandoned Ms. Sharma in a state where she could not maintain herself. Under the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, failure to maintain a woman involved in a domestic relationship amounts to domestic violence. So there is no separate law for live-in relationship. The live-in relationship law will come under the ambit of Domestic Violence Act only. Under Domestic Violence Act, if any woman is exploited and left helplessly, that is also called as domestic violence. Hence, the maintenance was being provided to this particular lady by taking the clause from the Domestic Violence Act 2005. But what drawback we are observing here? There is no separate law for the protection of women in live-in relationship. That is the gap. That means this particular judgment was under the ambit of Domestic Violence Act 2005 only. Is there any separate law for live-in relationship? No. So that is the gap. So here in the next slide, I am going to compare between what is the marriage and the live-in relationship. Before that, the live-in relationship where men and women satisfy all the characteristics of marriage. You know, the live-in relationship will satisfy all the conditions of the marriage. The same conditions are also present in marriage. Having a common residency. Yes, both will be staying under a single roof. Economic cooperation and proper division of labor. Yes, economic cooperation and proper division of labor is there. Mutually agreed sexual rights, there is no force is there, which is also similar in marriage, which is also there in live-in relationship. That means these are the similarities between the live-in relationship and the marriage. So from this particular characteristics, we can conclude that yes, live-in relationship can also be called as marriage because the characteristics of live-in relationship and marriage are similar. Whether the live-in partners guarantee the similar security to women and children born to the woman which is guaranteed in marriage bond, this is the question which arises. Okay, the characteristics are similar. Whether the woman which is guaranteed in the marriage relationship, those rights are guaranteed to the woman and the children born to the woman, that is the question mark in live-in relationship. In this particular context, what is the legal status of live-in relationship I will be discussing. The apex court in so many of its judgment has stated that if a man and woman lived like husband and wife, men and women lived like husband and wife in a long-term relationship and even had children, the judiciary would presume that the two were married and same laws would be applicable, which is applicable to the marriage. So from this particular point, what I want to tell that if the both male and female, either married or unmarried, if they have all the characteristics of marriage and they staying together and having mutually agreed sexual rights, that particular relationship without marriage also can be called as marriage. Hence, they can be protected with the similar laws of marriage laws like Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Domestic Violence Act 2005, 498A section of dowry. So these are all the acts which are applicable to the marriage. The same laws will also be applicable to the live-in relationship. In another instance, the apex court even declared that for a man and a woman in love to live together is part of right to life and not a criminal offence. Therefore, live-in relationships are legal in India. So it's not a mistake. Both are matured, both are adults, both are coming together with their willful nature. Hence, why it should be considered as criminal offence? It is not a criminal offence and it's a legal right for every adult in the country. That is a judgment which is given by the Supreme Court at various cases. But the famous case is what? Indra Sharma versus VKV Sharma of 2013, by which legally the live-in relationship in India got legal status. So I gave proper difference between the marriage and live-in relationship. What is marriage? What is live-in relationship? See, marriage is socially, ritually and legally approved. Socially, the societal approval is there. Ritually, religiously, they are performing it. Hence, religious approval is there. Hence, legal approval is there. Why? Because they come under the marriage bond. Whereas here, not socially and ritually approved. They are not approved by the society. See, the society is very great. That means the laws are because of the societal values. Whatever laws we are having, it is because of the enforcement of the society. But here in live-in relationship, legality is there, but social approval is not there. Hence, it became a complex thing. So in live-in relationship, legal approval is there, but absence of social approval and religious approval. Rights and legal obligations guaranteed. Why? Because they come under the legal marriage system, marriage. Whereas here, there is no law binding the partners together, and subsequently either of the parents can walk out of the relationship as and when they wish to do so. Hence, woman is vulnerable for exploitation. There is no separate law for living partners. Anytime they can leave the cohabitation, anytime they can abandon the woman. So because of which the woman is becoming vulnerable and exploited tool for the men. Whereas in marriage, rights are provided, legal obligations are there. Why? Because societal approval is there, religious approval is there, and legal approval is there. For example, specific marriage laws are present. In live-in relationship, there is no specific law. Specific marriage laws are present, like Hindu Marriage Act 1955. Marriage laws have been created to provide remedies for disputes arising out of marriage in different religions. So if any disputes arise, these laws will try to make them solace, try to make them slow, try to make them low, so that the wife and husband come together. There are marriage laws are there. But coming to here, it is legal. The right to maintenance in a live-in relationship is decided by the court by the Domestic Violence Act, but there is absence of separate law for live-in relationship. Hence, there is a gap. So, what is a major understanding is live-in relationship in India got legal status, but no social acceptance and no religious acceptance. But in the society like India, in the traditional society like India, in Indian social system, the societal approval is paramount, because of which till today also the live-in partners are being considered as illegal activity. So conclusion, the legal safeguards is provided by judiciary, but societal safeguard is not guaranteed by the society to the live-in partners. Indian society is not still ready to approve live-in relations as marriage institutions. India is not ready, whereas Western society is ready. Whereas Western world, European countries are ready. They had already made the laws for the protection of the woman in live-in relationship. But India, we doesn't have it. Why? Because absence of societal approval. As told by social thinker Montesquieu, for every institution in the society, there is a need for people approval. So what is paramount, what is zenith is people approval, means societal approval. So whatever is societal approval, obviously it will become the legality. But if there is legality, if there is absence of societal approval, but still it will struggle from absence of societal approval. So this is about the comparison, the difference and the similarities between the marriage and the live-in partners, and how we can compare the legality of the marriage and live-in partners, and what is the status of legality in India with respect to live-in relationship.